The Deputy President, Pastor Dorcas now wants the relevant authorities to punish Paul McKenzie, terming him a criminal who belongs behind bars. Pastor Dorcas has condemned the horrific discoveries allegedly perpetuated by the controversial televangelist Paul McKenzie in Shakahola that has claimed the lives of tens of people, saying McKenzie is a criminal and should be treated as such. And as Gilbert Nalwa reports, religious leaders from Busia County have condemned the controversial pastor, saying he has tarnished Christianity.
The horrific revelations from Shakahola in Kilifi County have sparked a heated debate, with some religious leaders and churches coming under sharp criticism. Today, the Second Lady, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, has weighed on the matter, taking a firm stand against the embattled Kilifi preacher of the Good News International Church, Paul McKenzie.
We have a law where when somebody is a criminal, the procedure, how it's supposed to be done. But we cannot stand there and say, because one Christian has been caught in a certain compromising position, so the whole body of Christ must be condemned.
According to Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, McKenzie is a criminal and should strictly be handled as an individual, not his family or church members.
Criminal is a criminal, a terrorist is a terrorist, a murderer is a murderer. Just take the murderer, let them go through the law, and let them be prosecuted, and let us know what they did. If they are guilty, they are put behind the bars. But you cannot condemn every Christian.
In Busia County, Bishop Samuel Welimo, who doubles as the chairperson of the Religious Leaders Association from the Western region, has criticized McKenzie, saying he has tarnished the name of the churches in the country and action need to be taken to ensure sanity.
Tumesikitishwa sana kwa yale maneno imetokea katikati ya hekalu la Mungu. Sisi wachungaji tumepewa jukumu kuunganisha mwanadamu na Mungu, sio kuua. Wakristo wengi watarudi nyuma wakosa kumwabudu Mungu wa kweli, kwa maana hawatajua ni nani mchungaji mzuri, ni nani mchungaji mbaya.
The leaders now want chiefs, sub-chiefs as well as ward and village administrators to take up a personal responsibility of visiting churches within their jurisdiction to assess the doctrine of churches in their areas.
Ningeomba wa administrators wote wa Kenya, especially assistant chiefs and chiefs, wachukue nafasi hata siku Jumapili moja watembelee kanisa moja. Wakiona NMS waambie serikali kwamba there is a mess here, mwanze kuchunguza. Itatupa mwelekeo kutoka kwa ground mpaka kwa national level.
The Nyumba Kumi leaders, however, wants Kenyans to be vigilant and avoid falling prey to the cunning preachers.
Don't rush to any place because people are prayer people. Kufunga kuko, lakini sio wakati ambapo mtu anafunga anaambiwa funga paka ukufe. Haiwezekani waambiwe funga paka ukufe. Ukipata kanisa kama hilo, toka pale. Kanisa ambalo linakwambia ya kwamba mtoto haendi shule, toka pale.
Gilbert Nalwa, TV 47.
Now, 109 more people have been reported missing in Shakahola, bringing the number of missing persons to 322, an increase from yesterday's tally, which was 213, as families of the victims continue to stream the Red Cross tent in Shakahola in search of their loved ones. Here is Evelyn Siombua with more.
With the ongoing search for missing persons who are suspected to be followers of the controversial Malindi preacher Pastor Paul McKenzie, the Kenya Red Cross Society has of today recorded 322 missing persons, among them 198 who are said to be children below 18 years.
Again, we're also appealing to the family members who have reported missing people. As of yesterday evening, we had reported 314, but today morning we recorded 8 more people who are seeking their family members.
This as more bodies were exhumed today in Shakahola, bringing the total number of bodies to 103. It has been described as one of the largest and dreadful mass graves.
Shakahola disaster has become a very great disaster, and I believe together we shall be able to help one another so that we sort out this problem once and for all.
According to the Kenya Red Cross Society Coast Regional Coordinator Hassan Musa, the process of installing the mobile container morgue with a capacity of preserving 300 bodies at the Malindi Sub-County Hospital is complete.
And today they have supported us by giving us a container. This is a refrigerated container that can contain over 300 bodies, so we'll be able to cope.
It is also anticipated that there will be improvisation of a few added trucks that will help in decongesting the mortuaries in the area. The government says it will soon begin conducting post-mortem and DNA tests to fast-track the process of identification of bodies.
We are again increasing the capacity of our volunteers and staff, especially at the psychosocial support. And not only that, but also to increase the fleet that in terms of vehicles that will carry the survivors from Shakahola to the health facility here.
Reporting for TV47, Evelyn Musyoka.
Meanwhile, the process of formulating a law to regulate religious activities in the country has started in earnest after the Senate formed an ad hoc committee to propose laws aimed at bringing sanity in religious institutions. In a motion moved by Majority Whip and Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale, the Senate has mandated 11-member committee to investigate circumstances leading to the death of followers of Good News International Church. Investigate the role played by controversial Pastor Paul McKenzie, his pastoral team, and the Kilifi County Security Team, established through the Office of the Registrar of Societies, the number and activities of religious groups in the country, and to audit the legal and registration framework for religious organizations in the country. Elizabeth Mutuku with the details.
Senators have started the process of formulating laws which will see regulations of religious activities in the country amid Shakahola horrific discovery where 103 bodies have been exhumed so far. The Senate decried of how leaders of religious institutions are taking advantage of gullible Kenyans and especially children, the latest incident leading to the deaths of more than 100 Kenyans.
The whole of Kenya, particularly children of this country, will be waiting for an outcome that can ensure that their rights in the Constitution, their rights under the Article 43, their rights under Article 53, their right to compulsory education are protected at the end of this assignment.
In a motion moved by Majority Whip and Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale, the Senate has mandated the 11-member committee to investigate circumstances leading to the death of followers of Good News International Church, investigate the role played by controversial Pastor Paul McKenzie, his pastoral team, and the Kilifi County Security Team, established through the Office of Registrar of Societies, the number and activities of religious groups in the country, and to audit the legal and registration framework for religious organizations in the country.
Yesu of Dongaren in my home, he's a problem, come for him. And if you're coming for Yesu of Dongaren, this is the time, speaking for this Senate that I'm privileged to serve in. We are only 47 elected and 20 nominated. There are millions of Kenyans who would love to be here today. Because of this privilege, I now want to stand tall on the shoulders of the poor of this country and say that people like the so-called war of some other church should also be propped.
Bwana Spika, tunasema ya kwamba kuna wengine nia zao ni safi, lakini wengi wao tumeona sasa kwamba ni kwa sababu ya pesa, na hizi pesa zinaonekana sasa zimeanza kupita mpaka sasa zimeingilia kwamba wale tunaweka mbele katika madhabahu wameziweka mbele sana mpaka zimekuwa kama shetani. Bwana Spika, kuna umuhimu wa kwamba sheria mwafaka zizingatiwe na ziangaliwe.
And don't say those people are stupid, those who followed. I'm only saying it's only that we never came across maybe that person, Mr. Speaker. Maybe one of us will be in that Shakaholo today as we speak. So to protect the honorable members, to protect the people of this country, we need pastors to be going a rigorous exercise before they are given their license, Mr. Speaker.
Further, the committee will also be required to develop legislative proposal on regulation of religious activities in the country and make any other recommendations that will prevent religious organizations from extreme indoctrination of their followers, including radicalization, spiritual and financial exploitation.
And I recommend that this committee visits Rwanda to ask the question, what did the president of Rwanda do when his country was faced with a mushrooming of religious organizations that were actually business entities? Madam Speaker, the House and the country is looking up to this committee.
Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth Mutuku, for that report. Now, from implementing the law on matters religion in the country to examining the accountability of the judiciary, the Judicial Service Commission, which is charged with the responsibility of handling disciplinary issues and the leadership of the judiciary, is examining the records of criminal cases against controversial Pastor Paul McKenzie of Good News International Ministries, to establish whether there was any misconduct on the part of judicial officers and staff who handled the matter since his first arraignment in 2017. And as Mike Kagwongo reports, the judiciary has finally highlighted the criminal cases presented against the preacher since he first came to their radar in October 2017. Take a look.
The controversial Pastor Paul McKenzie has been hitting the headlines for the second week now, following allegations that he indoctrinated teachings which led to the death of more than 100 of his followers. McKenzie is believed to have told his followers at the Good News International Church to fast to death so that they could meet their Creator. And now, Chief Justice Martha Koome has launched investigations on all judiciary staff who handled McKenzie's court cases since 2017. Koome, as the chairperson of the Judiciary Service Commission JSC, stated that the commission was examining the records to establish whether there was any misconduct on the part of judicial officers and staff who handled the matter. According to the judiciary, McKenzie was first arraigned on October 17, 2017, where he was charged with radicalization for promoting extreme beliefs, offering education in unregistered institutions, failing to take his children to compulsory primary and secondary education, and failing to provide the children with education. In 2019, the preacher faced other charges at the Malindi Magistrates Court, while few of his followers were also charged on various occasions with child neglect. The judiciary also revealed that the complaints against McKenzie and his co-accused were discussed by stakeholders in the justice and chain led by the then presiding judge at the Malindi Law Courts, under the auspice of the Kilifi County Court Users Committee CUC in its quarterly meeting of November 15, 2019. The judiciary said Kilifi County Court Users Committee discussed the issue of radicalization of children by Pastor McKenzie through his church and TV station. The issue was escalated to the National Government Implementation Committee and the Communications Authority, and the CUC was advised the matter had been forwarded to the Cabinet for discussion in the coming weeks. As a result, the TV station's license was then revoked by Communications Authority. However, according to the judiciary, no feedback was given on the proposal by the CUC to have the church deregistered or the decision by the cabinet on the issue. In its letter, JSC said that in 2019, McKenzie was charged with 3 counts, including incitement to disobedience of the law, contrary to Section 96C of the Penal Code, being in possession and distributing films to the public which had not been examined, and classified by the Kenya Film Classification Board, contrary to Section 12 of the Films and Stage Plays Act Cap 222. He was also charged with operating a filming studio and producing films without a valid filming license from the Kenya Films Classification Board, contrary to Section 4 of the Films and Stage Play Act, Cap 222. The accused pleaded not guilty and the prosecution objected to bail. The court, however, declined the application and granted the accused cash bail of 500,000 shillings and in the alternative bond of 1 million shillings with one surety. The matter is coming up for defense hearing on June 26, 2023. The judiciary reaffirms its commitment to upholding the Constitution and the rule of law in the administration of justice. Mike Kagwongo, TV 47. Nairobi.
Now, albeit Pastor McKenzie being pardoned the many times that he's been presented on the dock, the call by many Kenyans right now is that justice should be served promptly after the recent discoveries in the mysterious forest in Shakahola. But moving on, tonight, the Azimio coalition leaders have said they will call off mass action if Kenya Kwanza leaders agree to remove Eldas Member of Parliament Adan Keynan from the bipartisan team. Azimio's representative in the bipartisan talks and Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna said the coalition demo slated for next week on Tuesday will go ahead as planned if Kenya Kwanza does not comply. TV47's Apollo Kamau reports on a day Azimio leader Raila Odinga jets back to the country tomorrow, ready to pile pressure on the government to comply with the opposition demands.
With no let-up in sight on Azimio and Kenya Kwanza demands in the bipartisan talks, which collapsed on Tuesday, the Azimio coalition, awaiting for the arrival of party leader Raila Odinga on Friday, has stuck to its guns on the removal of Eldas MP Adan Keynan from the dialogue team, saying he holds the key to stop the mass action, or the opposition goes ahead with its demos planned for next week on Tuesday.
If it were not for that situation, I don't think the coalition would have said that we're going back to the streets. The announcement that I expect tomorrow from Honorable Murugara is that the Kenya Kwanza regime or party has changed Honorable Keynan with whoever it is that they want to replace, and hopefully is not a member of the Azimio coalition.
I want to tell them that whatever cat and mouse game they are trying to play, we are not going to give in to their pressure. William Samuel Ruto, who is our president, I'm telling you, is not that kind of another person maybe you can coerce so that he can give in. We have told him that we are not going to accept this issue.
An adamant Kenya Kwanza telling their Azimio counterparts to back a win-win situation. That is, if Keynan exits, Pokot South MP David Kosing should also leave the team. Kosing's party, the Kenya Union Party, on Thursday signed a post-election agreement with UDA.
We are okay having Kosing if they are okay having Keynan. If they are not okay having Keynan represent our team, then we're also not okay having Kosing in their team. And that, of course, it's a win-win. You can't have your cake and eat it.
Now that the party has spoken clearly to her members, whether in elected or non-elected, that the story you have seen here today, officially and formally joined Kenya Kwanza, means every member now follows what has been done. So
the arrival of Odinga on Friday is expected to jolt the coalition to pile pressure on President William Ruto to heed to their demands. Kenya Kwanza is however bent on convincing Odinga to take up the position of official leader of the opposition in key amendments expected soon in Parliament. The law will also be amended to allow presidential candidates and their running mates to seek elective positions in the 2027 poll. Apollo Kamau, TV47.
Well, thank you, Apollo Kamau, for that report. Now, on that note, we'll do a short break, but don't go too far. We'll be right back with more news.
Radio 47 tuko nawe mchana kutwa na usiku kucha. 92.9 Malindi.
Hi there, my name is George Washiri Optiven, and I'm very humbled to introduce to you Tulivu Gardens Phase 2. This property is adjacent to Konza Technopolis and only 4 minutes from the highway. This is a property whereby once you purchase it, you preserve your wealth, you build your wealth, you create your investment, create wealth for your generations. Don't miss this lifetime opportunity. Call this number right now, 0790 300 300. Optiven, inspiring possibilities. 23 years of impacting communities.
As you enter a new phase of life, you may seem lost until you discover the passion within.
I'm happy that MKU decided to open a branch in Malindi to make work easier for those parents who have never been away from their kids or children.
That's all the equipment that I need to study and all the facilities that I need.
You've seen we have one of the most beautiful and ultra-modern structure.
Join us at Mount Kenya University and Equip Africa Institute Malindi Odell Center to build your future. Intake in April for electronic learning and May for distance learning. Mount Kenya University.
Unlocking infinite possibilities.
Karibuni.
Mount Kenya. Life ni hard, but usitense, jipatie raha na Go TV.
I just want to go home.
Furahia local shows. Hubs. Our facility features ample parking, free Wi-Fi, advanced audiovisual equipment, and our technical team is always on hand to ensure your event runs smoothly and seamlessly. Don't take our word for it. Make your next event unforgettable at the Mwai Kibaki Convention Center. Contact us today for bookings and reservations. Email multimedia@mku.ac.ke or call us on 0708 212204 or 0727 441733 or 0721 438-629 to learn more about our services and book your event.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now, after close examinations of witnesses and evidence produced before Naivasha law courts over 5 years on Solai Dam tragedy, the court has finally made a ruling that the 9 accused have a case to answer over manslaughter among other charges. Our reporter Willie Dennis Njiru with the story.
Thursday morning at the Naivasha law courts, tens of Patel Dam victims in Solai, Nakuru County converge at the Naivasha law courts awaiting landmark ruling that was to determine the direction of the case.
In my humble view, it would be inadvisable for me to give reasons for holding that the accused persons have a case to answer at this point. Of course, the reasons are obvious. I therefore make a finding in totality that all the accused persons have a case to answer. They are placed on their defense on all the counts they are charged with.
Chief Magistrate Shiundu Luta ruled that the 9 accused charged with the death of 48 people after Solai Dam burst its banks 5 years ago have a case to answer.
A total of 36 witnesses were called by the prosecution in support of the case, and also the prosecution also produced documentary evidence. The issue for determination at this point is whether the accused persons have a case to answer or otherwise. I've considered the submissions made by the prosecution, counsel for the victims, and all the authorities cited in this matter.
The case was moved to Naivasha from Nakuru courts, at one time moved to Narok as a matter of public interest, also precipitated by the Naivasha High Court, was long on recess for 45 days.
Totality, when we look at the position taken by the defense, do we think 2 days would be sufficient or we need a week?
Senior Assistant Director of Public Prosecution Alexander Muteti, standing in for the victims and the defense, unanimously placed 11th May as commencement for the allocation of days for the hearing of the case before final determination.
I've had an opportunity to read the provisions of Section 306, subsection 1 of the Criminal Procedure Code. Provides when the evidence of the witnesses for the prosecution has been concluded, the court, if it considers that there is no evidence that the accused or any one of several of them committed the offense, shall, after hearing, if necessary, any argument which the advocate for the prosecution or the defense may desire to submit.
In the case, the owner of the farm, Perry Mansuk, and 8 others are charged with 48 counts of manslaughter.
To confirm that...
Reporting for TV 47 from Naivasha in Nakuru County, I'm Willie Dennis Njiru.
Meanwhile, Machakos County is currently battling a silent pandemic, which is cancer. The county has been reporting a surge in cancer cases as heads roll on what could be the reason for the increase. Our reporter Elizabeth Atieno visited some villages in Machakos County and now paints to us the real but grim picture on the ground.
42,000 cases and 27,000 deaths related to cancer are reported every year right here in Kenya, which equally means that the country loses 75 people every day due to this non-communicable disease. The counties of Nairobi, Nakuru, Kiambu, Machakos and Nyeri have since been listed as the 5 counties leading with cancer prevalence in the country. What is most shocking, however, is the increasing number of cancer cases in Machakos County, which reported 465 new cases in 2022. In order to ascertain the real situation on the ground, we embark on a 94-kilometer journey from Nairobi to Mwala in Machakos County, our area of interest being Nturuni village. The ambience in this village is that of silence, with the only sound being that of trees swiftly blown by the not-so-strong wind. But the threat that knocks on the doors of residents in this area is loud enough, with the impact being felt not only locally but internationally. This village is among those with the highest cancer prevalence in Machakos County. As we traverse the area, we come across Magdalene Musyoka, who was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2020 and now narrates to us her journey.
Nilienda 2019 Machakos level 5, nikaambiwa nipigwe picha, alafu kuangaliliwa nikaambiwa kuna uvimbe ndani. Saa wakaniambia hawana clinics, kwa hivyo nitafute mahali nitolewe hiyo growth. Alafu nikatoka na daktari hapo, tukaenda kwa kliniki yake, akaniambia nitoe 10,000. Saa nikatoa, akaenda akanitoa, nikaendelea tu, nikapona kabisa. Saa 2021 ilianza kutokelea nje sasa, ikakaa kama kidonda. Nilipatiwa hii dawa, nikaambiwa nitumie for 5 years. Sasa nimemaliza mwaka mmoja, niko wa pili sasa. Na tangu nianze kutumia hizi madawa, mimi najisikia naendelea mzuri. Hata nikienda hospitali wananiambianga, hata ukaikaa unatumia hizo dawa.
57-year-old Dorothy Mwaka is now a cancer survivor. She was first diagnosed in the year 2010. Fortunately for Mwaka, her diagnosis was done on time. Hence, there was no need for her to go through surgery that will see her lose her entire breast. She was, however, forced to go through 6 chemotherapy sessions and 21 radiotherapy sessions in the year 2012.
Ikafika mahali nikasikia ninaendelea na kufuata nguvu, na wakati waliniangalia daktari wakaona ninaendelea vyema. Kutoka 2010 half to now, I can say that it is Lord, kwa sababu nimepona.
For Mwaka, early screening was the silver bullet that saved her life till the moment she was declared cancer-free in the year 2014.
Siri ni ukipatikana na hii ugonjwa, wewe kwanza njipe moyo na ukae ujangojeka, kwa sababu ukifikiria kwa kichwa useme saa umengojeka utaenda.
So for us, one of the biggest things that concerns us is 2 out of every patient who are diagnosed die in the year of diagnosis. This is because majority of them are diagnosed at a late stage.
Late diagnosis of cancer remains one of the major challenges facing the fight against cancer in our county.
Most Kenyans are not going for screening and they are presenting with late stage cancer. In fact, I would say 60% are coming in stage 3 and 4.
But the financial burden that emanates from the treatment of cancer is too much to bear, especially for those still on their journey to recovery.
Hakuna kitu ya kansa ya bure. Sijawahi. Tulikuwa tunaingia tu hapo ndani, unatumwa chemistry. Unaleta hata gloves. Saa mimi nilifanywa tu harambee. Kusema ukweli, si kuwa na chochote. Saa fikirieni ukiambiwa saa hiyo umeweka ndawa saa hiyo na uitishwe 32k. Utatoa wapi saa hiyo? Hakuna.
There is a lot of effort or a lot of expense involved in terms of managing the later stages. But once it's discovered at the early stage, the management of that particular disease, the cost is minimal and chances of eradication are very high.
Within the NHIF benefit package, we're able to address the needs of the people to ensure that what we offer them after paying the 17 shillings a day or 500 shillings a month, that should they have cancer, that it will be able to be treated within the package to alleviate them from financial hardship.
According to the National Cancer Registry, breast cancer is leading among the female gender at 15.9%, while prostate cancer is leading among the male gender at 10.1%. The situation is similar in Machakos County as women bear the greatest cancer burden, with 26.5% living with breast cancer, while 23.2% and 8.8% are diagnosed with cervical cancer and cancer of the esophagus respectively. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Machakos County.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth Atieno, for that report. Now, shifting focus from matters health in Machakos County to the change of guard at the Kenya Defence Forces, where President William Ruto is faced with another quagmire months after taking the reins of power, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. All eyes are now on him as the Chief of Defence Forces, General Robert Kibochi, is set to take the mandatory terminal leave before proceeding for retirement. Mwege William with the details.
Oh Allah, we thank you.
General Robert Kibochi turned 64 years on August 2023, meaning that he is required to proceed on terminal leave on May, leaving a vacuum to be filled in the country's top military leadership, and President William Ruto will be required to appoint a successor. Although Kibochi's term was set to come to an end next year, but taking into consideration the age factor, the man who has been at the helm of the Kenya Defence Forces is left with no option but vacate office. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta appointed Kibochi in May 2020, and his 4-year tour of duty is supposed to come to a close next year. The age factor takes precedence. The task now on Ruto to appoint the next DOD boss. The matter comes in heavy with the ghost of bombers during the 2022 presidential election results haunting Lieutenant General Francis Ogola. Former IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati and fellow commissioners adversely mentioned the Vice Chief of Defense in an inquiry by Judge Agre Muchelule-led tribunal, stating that Ogola was among the top National Security Advisory Council (NSAC) officials who are claimed to have visited bombers asking commissioners to moderate the results in favor of the Azimio candidate Raila Odinga or force a runoff.
The current general
CDF is 64 years of age because a 1959 person. But what happened in 2022? The vice CDF, having been the person who went to the chair and said whatever is mentioned. In actual sense, the CDF is supposed to have sat in that office, National Security Council.
Well, the Ogolla factor is a dicey one for President Ruto, taking into consideration of rules introduced by retired Chief of Staff General Daudi Tonje that put in place a rotational system that gives equal chances to the three services of the Kenya Defence Forces, Army, Navy and Air Force, to lead the military. This being the case, the president is expected to pick Kiboshi's successors from the Kenya Air Force, since the outgoing CDF is drawn from the Kenya Army and succeeded General Samson Mwatate from the Navy.
We also have which determine or have very clear stipulation CDF is going to be held. The rules require that there be a rotation. At the same time, talk about the retirement ages, which have to be for them to be sent on retire. But at the same time, we know that the commander is the president of the nation of Kenya.
However, the National Defence Council is expected to recommend to the president the most suitable officer in the KDF for appointment. President Ruto is left with two options: either appoint Lieutenant General Ogolla or send him to a foreign mission.
It's time to count the shilling and shift focus to matters business. And in the business news, County's equitable share has been increased by 15.4 billion shillings to 385.4 billion shillings from 370 billion shillings. President William Ruto appended his signature in the Division Revenue Bill a week after legislators passed the bill without amendments. Also, counties will receive equalization fund of 8.3 billion shillings, a rise of 1.2 billion shillings from the previous year. This comes just a few days after the Council of Governors issued a 2-week notice to the national government to release the funds. Meanwhile, students from institutions of higher learning will now get their HELB loans via M-Pesa and continuously with the bank option for convenience. This as the government reduced its budget from 17 billion shillings to 25 billion shillings last year. So far, 142,000 students receive an average of 43,000 shillings from HELB.
In the next financial year, 2023-2024, we requested a budget allocation of about 25 billion based on the current demand, but we are allocated 17 billion, and hence we have a deficit of about 8 billion. While my board has embarked on alternative sources of funding, we as a board wish to make a passionate appeal to government to consider help for additional funding, as empower the dreams of more than 1,339,627 Kenyan students, and disbursed over 147.57 billion. By 31st March of 2023, there were 713,484 mature loan accounts worth about 93.49 billion, while 626,143 loan accounts holding about 54.08 billion had not matured for repayment. Further, there were 713,484 mature loans accounts holding 93.49 billion. Out of these mature loans,